Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April Ordinary Council meeting. Kaya Marman, Kaya Yoga, Kaya Bridie, Yananuk, Nalak Kadij Winjialak Nini, Nalak Kadij Nidja, Budja Bal, Wajak Nunga, Budja Nalak Nini, Kora, Nijie Borawan. The town of Bassendean acknowledges the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation as the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to elders past and present and acknowledge their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the region. Councillors, we have a declaration of civic duty and responsibility, and I'll read it out what you're signing. I make this declaration in good faith and declare that I will duly, faithfully, honestly and with integrity fulfil the duties of my office for all the people in the town of Bassendean according to the best of my judgment and ability. So, councillors, I believe you've all signed the sheet. Councillor Polifka. Councillor Polifka, can I ask if you will sign the sheet when it's emailed to you and return it to the council chambers by tomorrow morning?
Yeah, absolutely, Madam Mayor. No issues with what's contained within that document.
Okay, thank you. Announcements by the presiding person without discussion. Expressing deepest sympathies on the passing of Pope Francis, and thoughts are with the families, churches and communities deeply affected by his passing. Pope Francis pursued and encouraged many actions, often urging the world to hear the cry of the earth as he called for the cessation of environmental degradation, a sad loss to humanity. Councillors, Councillor Burke is running late and will be attending the meeting. When she enters the chamber, I will announce that for the sake of the minutes clerk. All other councillors are present. Councillor Polifka will be coming in online. All officers are present, except Joe Burgess, Manager of Governance and Strategy, who has an apology for tonight. Councillors, do I have any applications for leave of absence? No? Okay, thank you. Councillors, do I have any declarations of interest on any item on the agenda? Councillor Carter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I declare impartiality interest in item 12.2, the Success Hill South Heritage considerations. The nature of my interest is that I'm cited as a source, being the author of Bassendean,
and a worthy source you are indeed.
I've already put in a declaration of interest for that, and I don't need to put another one in. Thanks.
Okay. We have no deputations tonight that I know of. None have been emailed in, which will then take us to statements by members of the public. Now, I understand that one of the attendees in the chamber has a statement that she would like to make on item 12.2, Success Hill South Heritage considerations. I would ask Katarina Wolfe to come to the microphone and state your address and your statement. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just in time. Good evening. My name is Katarina Wolfe from 4 Nurstead Avenue, Bassendean. I'd just like to use this opportunity to expand on the response I gave to Councillor Polifka's question during last week's briefing session, as I believe it could benefit from further clarification in regards to my position. Hang on, I'm very small. While I believe it's true that a heritage area overlay may not provide the same level of regulatory certainty as the build form guidelines in the town centre precinct structure plan, it serves a fundamentally different but equally important purpose, or so at least I do believe. Heritage areas are not just about design control, they are about public recognition. They perform a vital civic function by helping communities connect with their local history. And without that recognition, however symbolic, there's a real risk that important historical context may be overlooked, undervalued or ultimately lost. So people can't protect or care about something that they don't know exists in the first place. In the case of the former Nurstead estate, a heritage overlay would send a clear message to current and future generations that this place has cultural and historical significance worth acknowledging. It's about fostering a deeper sense of place, encouraging care, curiosity, and stewardship that design codes alone cannot inspire. So while planning policies may shift over time, the enduring value of heritage recognition lies in the story it tells about who we are and where we've come from. So ultimately I'm asking, why can't we have both? Built form guidelines and a heritage overlay serve a complementary but distinct purpose, and together they offer a more complete approach to honouring and managing our town's history.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Are there any other statements from members of the public gallery? If not, we'll move on to questions from members of the public. Now, I have some questions that have been sent in by email. I'll deal with those first. The first one is Mr. Mark Luther of Kenny Street, Bassendean. Wished to know when the update on installing time parking along the southern end of Kenny Street will occur. Now, my understanding is that yellow parking line has already been installed, and I am assuming that the administration will forward a copy of this response to Mr. Luther, and it will also appear in the minutes of the meeting. The second question, why is it taking so long to get the support project completed in Bassendean, as Western Power are running outages to replace power poles at great expense? It is true that the Western Power project in North Bassendean is running behind. However, my understanding is that a committee between the council and Western Power has been organised, and that a co-funding agreement is expected to be submitted to council in July, and it will come to council for a decision probably in August or September. And if adopted, will commence commit the town to the project. Construction is not expected to commence until early 2026. The town has deferred levying a service charge on property owners until 26-27 financial year. Again, that information will be conveyed to the gentleman, and also it will appear in the minutes of the meeting. Now, I also have some questions that were sent in by Katarina Wolf. And Katarina, if you'd like to come to the microphone and ask your questions, that would be excellent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just first of all like to follow up on Councillor Carter's question from last week, or last week's briefing session, which was taken on notice, I believe, at the time. But I believe a response has not yet been received, or at least not more broadly circulated. So the question I'd just like to repeat, and I thought it was quite pertinent, why is Council so reluctant to consider Nursewood Estate Heritage, a Nursewood Estate Heritage area compared with previous support for other proposed heritage areas in the town?
Okay, before we go to an answer for the minute clerk, Councillor Burke has entered the chamber. Okay, so Mr. CEO, who would you like to have answer that question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the officer, the Manager of Planning Regulation, has already provided a response, but if he's happy to read it out for the chamber. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I can't speak, or the administration cannot speak on behalf of council, but the administration has presented a revised recommendation to council for their consideration, allowing them to pursue an option of a heritage area, and that is now an updated recommendation as recommend point 4. There's no reluctance from the administration. The administration has always been committed to developing design guidelines to ensure future development and acting upon the available density is sympathetic to the area in the context of the R160 and R100 zoning. The recommendation to council has always specified to commence place-specific reviews of 4 additional properties on Nurstead Avenue to ensure that story of Nurstead Avenue estate is told and recognised within the town's local heritage survey. And the report to council has always said that the additional 10 properties will undergo further investigation when the town reviews its local heritage survey.
Okay, thank you. And your second question, Katarina?
Yes, I'd just like to point out I asked about a heritage area, not about specific places on the register. My second question is in regards to further clarification. There has been some contradictory information provided concerning the proposed build form, whichever way round there are guidelines for the successful south frame. In the April Council meeting, Mr Snudden stated that the workshop or the community workshop combined with consultants' input would result in a range of different designs reflecting current building styles across the entire frame. So it would be kind of a pick and choose, as it does exist in other areas, like, for example, Kenny Street. However, last week in the April briefing session, the town CEO stated that form build guidelines would include sub-guidelines specific to certain areas within that particular frame, implying that there would be a unique guideline, for example, for the former Nurstead estate. So can you just clarify?
Okay. Mr CEO?
I'll refer to Manager of Planning and Regulation. He has provided a quite fulsome response that will be shared. But if you wanted to give a verbal response, that'd be great. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor. It is yet to be determined through the preparation of the precinct structure plan or a local planning policy whether there will be a separate sub-guideline specific to certain areas within the frame, or if it is more appropriate to have generic design guidelines that cover the entire area. This will be decided following the workshop with the community that we've talked about and in consultation with GHD. If generic design guidelines covering the entire area are deemed the most suitable approach, they will be developed to ensure the future development is sympathetic to the area's prominent heritage and character values. This approach would operate similarly to our Kenny Street heritage area, which recognises 3 prominent built form areas that underpin the area's heritage and character status, and now seeks to ensure that new development is contextually sympathetic. So, in short, we haven't made a decision. We'll work through that.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Now, I'd ask if there are any other members of the audience who have questions. If so, raise your hand. Sir, would you like to come to the microphone, state your name and address? Thank you.
John Blampe, 5 Dalesford Road, Bassendean. Okay?
Thank you, sir. Your question?
All right. My question deals with the sale of 1 Surrey Street, Bassendean, for $1. The closing date for Bassendean residents' submissions regarding this proposal was the 5th of July, 2021. The town of Bassendean purchased the historic pensioner guard cottage and adjoining residence, land area 937 square metres, in 1988 for $67,000. The town of Bassendean is the registered proprietor. Later, the sale to the Museum of Perth was subject to the purchaser entering into a deed of agreement with the town of Bassendean. I understand the deed of agreement is secured by an absolute caveat registered upon the certificate of title at settlement. I understand that this property has been recently damaged. Vandalism is occurring, plumbing is being damaged and copper piping stolen. It's unlikely that the property is insured against such damage.
So can I ask you to come to your question?
I am coming to it. If the property was destroyed by fire, storm and tempest, we would be left with a pile of rubble and a vacant block of land. The deed of agreement between the town of Bassendean and the Museum of Perth stipulated that the sum of $200,000 was to be expended by the Museum of Perth between the period of July 2021 and July 2025, approximate dates. If the Museum of Perth is not complying in accordance with the terms of the deed by the end of the 4-year term, will the town of Bassendean take action via its solicitors to transfer the property back to the town of Bassendean, and will the town of Bassendean inform its ratepayers and all residents of the current legal position in regard to these matters, in view of the current valuation of this land now being in excess of $2 million?
So, sir, could you allow us to answer the questions one at a time? First of all, the 4-year period has not yet expired. That is my understanding. And my understanding, Mr. CEO, is that would probably be late this year or early next year that the 4-year period expires. This is mainly because there was a delay between the signing of the documents. I think it was because of stamp duty or something like that. So the 4 years has not yet expired, so we cannot preempt what this or a future council might decide to do. So that is not within my power to predict what a future council might decide to do. So, but I will also refer to the CEO if you would like to add anything.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, the legal document was signed October. So October 2025 is the...
October 2021, was it?
One.
2025 or 2021?
No, the end date is October 2025.
When was the document signed?
October 2021.
21. So there was a 4-year, according to your website, 4 years ago, this sum of money was supposed to be paid within a 4-year term. Is that correct?
No, unfortunately, the legal contract doesn't specify any milestone payments or any milestone targets. In other words...
Has this been made aware to all the people who put in submissions? There were a lot of submissions put in, as you're aware, and almost 100% opposed this sale. Now,
Okay.
I think it's really the duty of this council to tell the public who put the submissions in what the legal ramifications are.
Okay,
What
sir,
is the-
I'm
what is
going
this
to
current-
cut you off
has any
here.
money been paid?
Sir, I'm
eh?
going to cut you off. This is question time. And what you need to do when you ask a question is you need to allow the CEO or whoever is responding to you to fully respond, okay? The platform for statements and deputations has passed. We're now in question time. Happy to answer your questions. However,
not getting really the answers because,
however, you have had some questions. You have had some answers, sir. In that decisions about what will happen with that site is in the future and lays in the hands of a future council or this council, depending when the report will come to council. You've had an answer from the CEO that there are no milestone payments in the contract. However, the contract does have provisions that certain works must be completed within a 4-year period, and if they're not completed, then decisions will have to be made at that point in time, which will be October onwards. So those are the answers to your questions at the moment. So there is not much that can be reported to the community, as you've so put it. So at this point in time, a future decision is exactly that. It's a decision into the future.
Okay, well, look, I've got another appointment and I have to hurry off. So thanks for listening to me.
Thank you,
very
sir.
much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, do I have further questions from the audience? Thank you, ma'am, if you'd come to the microphone. State your name and address. Thank you.
Hi, Kate Davies, 14 and 16A, Nurstead Avenue. I appreciate the responses that were emailed to me. Thank you very much for those, both the content and the spirit of them. There was mention of council being willing to explore the idea of a heritage overlay similar to the one over Devon and Kenny Streets. Can I ask for a sense of timing on that?
I will have to refer to the CEO.
I will refer to Alex, but are the residents aware of the revised officer's recommendation?
Yes.
Yeah,
It was
okay.
emailed to me and I read it.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor. It's outlined in an updated version of the council report. A draft policy may be presented to council before the 23rd of September 2025 ordinary council meeting. The preparation of the draft amended local planning policy will include, but will not be limited to the following steps: a workshop with the residents in the area in May or late May or early June 2025, reviewing outcomes of the workshop, preparation of draft policy provisions, and a review of the draft provisions by either the town's design review panel or the chair of the DRP or a specialist heritage consultant or architect.
What I found confusing about that was which one is to do with the heritage overlay and which one is to do with the recommendations in the PSP?
In relation to the workshop,
Yeah.
it'll be one workshop.
One workshop for both things?
Yes.
Cool, that's what I wasn't clear about. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if there are no further questions, we'll move on. Okay. There are no petitions. Councillors, this then brings us to confirmation of the minutes. Before I move on to that, I will ask Councillor Burke, we did bypass attendances, apologies, any applications. You have no applications and you have no declarations of interest on any item on the agenda. Thank you. Okay, so we'll now move to The minutes, item 9.1, that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 25th of March 2025 be received and confirmed as a true and correct record. Do I have a mover for that item? Councillor Ames, do I have a seconder? Councillor Carter, do I have anyone against? I'll declare that carried. There is no business deferred from the previous meeting. This brings us to item 11.1, external committee reports and updates. That council notes the minutes from external committees that have been received within the reporting period. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Wilding. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Polifka. Do I have anyone against? I'll declare that carried. Thank you. We now go to the officer reports. Now, councillors, en bloc, we have items in en bloc, and I would ask if there are any items that a councillor might wish to remove from en bloc. So en bloc, we've got 12.3, 12.4, 12.5, 12.6 and 12.7. If we have none coming out of... Councillor Plifka, your hand is still up. Did you want to remove something from en bloc?
Apologies, there must be some delay. I think I have on my end lowered my hand. No, happy with everything that's on block. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I thought you were just waving at me. Okay, thank you. So, councillors, if we've got nothing coming out of en bloc, do I have a mover for that item? Given Councillor Plifka's hands up, are you moving it, Councillor Plifka? I would say yes. Councillor Ames.
Happy to do so.
Councillor Ames, are you seconding? Do I have anyone against? I'll declare those carried. This then brings us to the first item on the reports, which is Success Hill South Heritage Considerations, item 12.2. Now, I will ask Mr. CEO if you want to add anything, because there have been changes to the recommendation. You might wish to talk to those changes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and given that our Manager of Planning and Regulation was away last week, and based on the feedback from the community and the council, we have the officer has changed amended the recommendation. So I'd be happy now for Alex to take you through those changes.
Thank you, Cameron. Following the ordinary council meeting held in March and last week's briefing session, where residents have expressed a desire for design guidelines and the heritage area through formal recognition of Nurstead Avenue as a heritage and character area, the administration has provided an updated recommendation to council with point 4 of the resolution being added, which is requests that the CEO prepares a draft amended local planning policy number 4, heritage and character, for council's consideration. The draft amended policy shall be informed by the outcomes of the workshop referred to in point 3, which relates to the precinct structure planning community engagement workshop with the residents. In the locality, the draft amended policy is requested to designate a new heritage and character area to be known as the Nurstead Estate Heritage Area, and shall provide suitable design guidelines for future development and recognise heritage and character values within the area bound by Guildford Road, Lord Street and the Perth to Midland Railway line.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions? This item was covered last week and there have obviously been changes, and you have all read the updated report. Councillor Plifka, your hand is still up, so I'm still going to check with you whether you have any questions.
No questions. Apologies with the technical issue. But if no one wants to move the item, I'm happy to do that as well. Okay.
Councillor Ames is seconding. Do I have anyone against? I'll declare that carried. So we'll now move on to item 12.8, the monthly financial report, and I will invite Mr. White to do
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. The Director of Corporate Services will introduce this report. Excuse me. Sorry, I'll just get to it. Won't be a sec.
We're too quick for you.
I wasn't expecting it.
Thank you, ladies. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. So this is just the monthly financial report for March. It's a normal monthly financial report, aside from one particular point, which was a request for a budget amendment of $21,500 for the purpose of funding a consultant to implement new tip passes and FOGO vouchers into the rates notices in a way that can't be tampered with or reproduced. So we're seeking a budget amendment to allow that to occur in time for issuing the 25-26 rates notices, with the funding proposed to come from the Waste Programs Reserve.
Thank you, Mr. White. Can I just ask a quick question on that? Clearly, the intent, as per the workshop, is so that these online slips can be scanned, and that's the intent. Can I ask what sort of timeline? Because we've obviously got rates notices which will go out in August, I think.
Through you, Madam Mayor, hopefully July, if we can.
Excellent.
Late July.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yes, so the timeline is if Council adopts this recommendation tonight, we will get started tomorrow in terms of engaging with a consultant and trying to have that incorporated in time to issue the rates notices.
I thought you would be very fast at this. Okay. Councillor Ames.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to the Director of Financial Services. 21,500 seems to be a bit of a large, sort of spend. Do you have any understanding in regards to what the consultation for this particular expense actually entails and what the outcome is going to be from your perspective at this point in time? Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, it is a large figure. The consultation, we understand, unfortunately, there is a minimum requirement for 15,000 properties, and that's what the fee is based on, and the town only has 7,500 properties. So it is going to be costly, more costly, I guess, per property owner for the town to do this and perhaps some other larger local governments. So in terms of what's required from the consultation, that's the indicative quote that we'd received. There may also be some minor expenditure in terms of perhaps some barcode scanners and things that we might need to purchase to accommodate the town being able to scan these effectively. Other than that, we don't anticipate anything further. After the initial year, should this continue into future years, the cost will be about half. I guess the only other comment I'd probably make is that at present, the ratepayers who have elected to receive their rates notices via e-rates currently have to come into the counter to pick up their FOGO vouchers, and the town mails out their tip vouchers to them. So this will avoid the need for both those things to occur for our e-rates customers.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Paul. Also, to follow up on that, again, being such a large ticket item, the consultant for this particular type of engagement with the town, are there others within the marketplace? Did we get a multitude of different avenues? Why have we settled for this particular consultant? Just those, big ticket item dot points that we would do as such. I'm not sure if you can answer that for me, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. I believe that an initial quotes were sought by the Executive Manager, Environment and Sustainability. I'm not across the detail of that, so I'd have to take that on notice. But I'd be confident, given the way that individual conducts their work, that she would have sought indicative quotes. However, I can provide council with further details, obviously not in time for the decision tonight, should that be required. Thank you.
And just a last question. I'd appreciate our director would be very diligent in their workings, which is great. Last question is, any other local government authorities been using this particular consultant or have this type of engagement with their community for, such tip passes and to ensure that we're nice and secure with what we're doing here in the town of Bassendean? Any other feedback you may have had?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I think I'd have to take that on notice as well, unfortunately. The Executive Manager, Environment and Sustainability would be the person with that knowledge. But maybe happy to provide information, obviously not in time for the decision tonight.
So following on from Councillor Ames' questions, I note on page 47 of the agenda, the reason for this is contract services to implement secure barcode technology for 2025-26 rates notices. Now, it's my understanding from the dialogue previously that the implementation of this technology would not only provide convenience for our ratepayers, but also may alleviate some of the additional workload, the manual workload associated with staff dispensing various items. Is this correct?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I was reading an email from the Executive Manager.
Okay, so noting that the introduction of this services to implement secure barcode technology for the rates notices, which is for the tip passes that go by rates notices, and also for the, mind you, they still have to pick up the compost bags, so that's not relevant. So it's mainly for the 2 tip passes. My understanding is this would actually entail convenience for the public who are using e-rates, but also it would alleviate some of the workload associated with our staff who are dealing with phone calls and all sorts of paraphernalia in relation to these tip passes that people can't claim electronically. Is that right?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, it is. I think at the moment we do receive a number of queries. In fact, today there was someone attended the counter as I was walking past to collect a FOGO bag, but had forgot to bring the voucher with them. So it will stop people needing to attend. It'll provide a sort of a fraud-proof mechanism to be able to ensure that people are only using the passes that are allocated to them and they can't be copied, etc.
Okay.
But it will make it more convenient for all of our ratepayers, not just those who are in receipt of e-rates. And I guess it will save on some postage costs from the town as well, although that hasn't been calculated, because it'll obviate the need for us to write to post out the tip vouchers to each of our e-rates customers.
Okay. So the other fact that came through last week was that although the initial cost is $21,500, that continuing cost in subsequent years drops to half.
Yes.
And is it not correct that the town, and I know for myself, we have stopped promoting subscription to e-rates because of the issue related to scanning, the inability to scan the rates notices for these tip passes. So do you envisage the ability to continue to promote e-rates once this technology has been implemented?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes. I guess there's always been a little bit of an inconsistency in terms of promoting the use of e-rates when we still had to mail out tip vouchers. So with that inconsistency removed, then it would free up, I think, more extensive promotion to try and encourage a greater uptake. We did have a very good uptake actually initially,
Yes.
but it has dropped off because we haven't been promoting it as heavily for that reason that you mentioned, Madam Mayor.
Well, certainly I have not been promoting it because of the issue with not being able to scan it. Okay, in respect to perhaps organising a promotion to transfer people from ordinary paper rates notices to e-rates, would it be that I might, during the budget process, suggest an allocation for some sort of promotion? It's not appropriate to do it in this particular context. That's correct. It would be better through the budget process, would it not?
Yes, Madam Mayor, and depending on the scale, it might not need its own budget, but if it's significant enough, then that would be appropriate.
Okay. Councillors, are there further questions on relation to this item?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Plifka?
Just following on from Councillor Ames' line of inquiry. So I've heard that the baseline amount that we need to pay each year is 10,000. The initial amount we would have to pay in the first year is 20,000, which is pegged to a minimum council size of 15,000. Was any rationale given for why there was such a minimum? Look, I could understand in the context of, say, large engineering works where you'd have mobilisation and demobilisation, but was there any rationale given for why there was a minimum amount of 21,000?
Through Madam Mayor, I'm trying to recollect, I think the Manager Environment and Sustainability may have talked in the workshop a little bit about the technology in terms of the anti-fraud barcoding and so on, but I expect it's just to spread their costs over a sufficient number of rates notices to make it worthwhile. Another way of looking at it, it's not really relevant for us. I don't think whether it's based on 7,500 ratepayers or 15,000. The bottom line is that if the town wants to do this, it's going to cost us 21,500 in the first year and 12,500 annually after that.
Okay. So each year, so the cost of the technology is 12,500 each year. That is for a fixed term, or is that indefinitely?
Well, we haven't entered into a contract yet, but I'd imagine it will not stay at that amount indefinitely. It's likely to be indexed to CPI or some other escalation clause that would apply throughout. But I suppose the good news is until we hit 15,000 ratepayers, there shouldn't be a sort of a significant jump aside from annual incremental increase to that cost. But we haven't.
But potentially the duration of the contract could allow them to, as you say, spread out the initial cost impost over a number of years. So if it were a 2-year contract, then maybe they want to have a steeper amount in the first year. But if it were, say, a 5-year contract, then potentially there could be scope to negotiate down that initial lump sum figure.
Yes, that could happen. As I said, I haven't been privy to those discussions, and we haven't entered into a contract at this point. However, sorry, I suppose I'd just make one further point, is that this is effectively funded by the ratepayer through the waste reserve, as well as part of the waste service charge.
So,
Okay, well, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
okay. Mr Asmus, you want to add a comment?
Yeah, probably just worth noting, thanks Madam Mayor, that this company that we're potentially using is also linked to the EMRC system. So I think to answer the Councillor Ames' question in terms of whether it's an RFQ in the process, it's sole provider because this is the only company that we can use because of the links to the EMRC. Obviously being able to read the barcode at the tip site, things like that. So, and the cost obviously includes setting up the online system.
So can I ask a second question? Now, this is going to be derived from one of the waste reserves, which I think the reserve that this is coming from is a very healthy reserve. Would that be correct?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, our waste reserves have significant funding in them. This is the Waste Programs Reserve. I can't...
I'm assuming this is because we were an incredibly efficient council in the rollout of FOGO and produced savings along the way, which is why we actually have waste reserves that are well balanced. But could I also ask, does anyone have any idea of the number of phone calls and complaints relating to the inability to scan tip passes every week. As Mayor, I'm aware of how many I get, but does anyone have any idea of how many phone calls and complaints the staff get about this every week?
But probably could find the information out, Madam Mayor, and I'll speak to the executive manager to get that information over the next three or 4 days if I can.
Thank you. Okay, councillors, do we have any further questions on this item? Do we have a mover for this item? Councillor Ames. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Wilding. Do we have anyone against? I'll declare that carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda is 12.9, the Success Hill Drainage Works. Noting that there is a confidential attachment to this item, rather than go behind closed doors, which I will do if we have to, but I will ask the CEO if there is any commentary that you wish to make on this item if we have to go behind closed doors.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since we spoke at the briefing session last week, the officer would like to present an amended officer's recommendation to 12.9. And I would like, if I can, Mr. Asmus to read that out. And I think, do we have it up on the screen as well? Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Cameron. So it's recommended, along with the first recommendation, to add recommendation 2, 3 and 4. Recommendation 2 notes that the CEO does not intend to re-tender for the supply of the goods or services in accordance with Regulation 11(2)(c) of the Local Government Functions and General Regulations 1996. The third recommendation notes that the CEO will engage directly with a potential supplier or suppliers for provision of the goods or services. And the fourth proposed recommendation is authorises the CEO to enter into a contract with a supplier considered to provide the best value for money to the town, subject to a conforming offer that meets the town's requirements within the existing project budget. So the 3 additional recommendations are put forward. Thank you.
Just for context, Council, so what we're asking you to do tonight is to refuse a non-conforming tender and allow the administration to get on and secure a solution to our issue. This has been on the books since before my time as CEO, and it's been on the books, I think, now for nearly 5 years. The reason we're requesting that approach is because the current potential contractor has a window of opportunity. It doesn't have work in the next 6 to 8 weeks. So if we can avoid coming back to a council meeting and through the normal processes, given we've failed, subject to discussions with the contractor meeting those specifications and our budget, we could be moving on this side of the financial year, which would mean some of the carried forwards will be less next year. I'm not saying the project will be finished, but at least we can draw down on that project cost.
Sorry, can I just clarify one point, Madam Mayor? The current tender is a conforming tender. It met the town's requirements. It meets, and we're still in the public realm, so it does meet the town's requirements. It was assessed as meeting the town's qualitative evaluation criteria. The problem was one of budget.
Okay, councillors, if you have any questions that relate to the confidential attachment, we will have to go behind closed doors. If you have no questions, I can go straight to the item and have a mover and a seconder. So I'd ask, are there any questions? Councillor Plifka, with your hand still up. I'm assuming you have no questions.
Not really up. I have no questions. If you don't have a mover, I'm happy to move it.
Okay, Councillor Plifka is moving, a seconder, Councillor Ames. Do I have anyone against? I'll declare that carried for the amended officer recommendation as read out and as appearing on your screen. Okay, councillors, give me a moment. So councillors, we have no urgent business, so we will, can I have a mover to go behind closed doors? Councillor Ames, seconded Councillor Burke. Do I have anyone against? I'll declare that carried. So, and we will wait for the doors to be closed. And if we can come out from behind closed doors, and if you could tell me when the microphone, the live stream is back on, so I can read those recommendations. Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, and now that we are back on the live stream, okay, item 16.1, that council approves the officer recommendation for the lifetime contribution to volunteering award. Notes that the details of the award recipient will be embargoed until the awards are issued on Friday, the 23rd of May 2025. 3 notes the intended review of the Community Awards program and policy. Okay, item 16.2. Okay, 16.2, that council supports the officer recommendation for this item. We now work to 16.3. That council supported officer recommendation option 1. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the close of the meeting at 7:44 p.m. The next ordinary council meeting will be held on Tuesday, the 27th of May 2025, commencing at 6 p.m. Thank you, one and all. Thank you, staff. Thank you, Anna.